What's going on, you guys? Griffin here with Country Slicker. So today we're going to tackle a little tech topic. We're going to try and get some height back on the KRX 1000. So very common issue with the KRX is spring sag. A lot of people will say, okay, you have to replace your tender springs. Today we're going to try and take a bit different approach. We're going to try swapping out our stock caps on our Fox 2.5 shocks for some high capacity shock therapy caps, and then we're able to bump that nitrogen pressure up. Stock is supposed to have 200 psi in it, and my theory is that, or I shouldn't say my theory, but what I've seen online and read and conversed with people is that over time you lose that nitrogen pressure, and that's what causes your springs to start to collapse. So hopefully we're going to put these caps on, we're going to pump it up to 200 psi, and that's going to gain all of our lift height back. Okay, so we'll do a quick measurement, see what our stock height's at. So on the front, we are sitting at 12.75, call it 13. We'll call it 13 inches in the front. Up here, nice and tight, because I need a shop. Let's see, on the rear, yeah, in the rear we're like 11 3/4 of an inch. So stock height, I actually did measure this when I first bought it, and I had like 14 and a half inches of clearance. So we've lost about 1.5 inches in the front, and what are 11, 12, 13, 14 and a half. So we've lost like almost 2.5 inches in the rear, 1 inch in the front, which is quite a bit. Plus, without that nitrogen pressure, we're bouncing back and forth much more on the springs. So we'll try pumping these things up. We'll switch these caps out, we'll pump these up, and then we'll see what happens. But hopefully that gets us not only a better quality ride, but it gets us our height back as well. I'll just say like, so these are the new caps that we're going to put on, and you can see they've got the Schrader valve on there. So we'll give these a shot. Hopefully it works. Oh yeah, yeah, that shock body's moving now. All right, so these are our old caps. You can see it was actually really easy. There was a screw in the middle that was a hex. So you don't always have to drill it out. There's just a hex screw that you can unscrew on these 2023 or newer models. But that's it, and there's just a little bit of shock oil in there. Less than a spoonful, I'd say, in each shock. Okay guys, so I didn't bother showing you how to install these. Shock therapy has lots and lots of videos online to figure out how to install these properly. So I'm not going to do a video about that, but we got them on there. Didn't take long. I would say tip to tail, it took us 30-40 minutes. Big shout out to Jeff. Thanks, buddy, for giving us a hand putting these on. But yeah, so the new caps are on there. You guys can see here. So these are the new caps, a little bit bigger. You've got a little more capacity, and it just complements that shock body. So there's a snap ring that comes out. These get pushed in. Old snap ring goes back on, and then now those are in. So they are empty right now, but we have a Schrader valve that we can now top up the nitrogen with. So yeah, we're going to throw the machine on the trailer, zip over to Buddy's shop here, and throw some nitrogen in there. We're going to charge these up. Manufacturer spec is 200 psi, so we're going to put 200 psi nitrogen in there, and then we'll see if we get some of our ride quality back. All right, you guys, so we just got back from getting the shocks pumped up. So we did between 180 and 185 psi in all four corners. Now, manufacturer does say you can go anywhere between 150 and 200 psi. Didn't want to go to 200 psi. If we go that high, we're at the max that the shock can possibly handle with the seals. So we went down to between 180 and 185, and we're going to try that out. So if you guys have any impressions, please hit us up in the comments below. But the car is obviously a lot higher. As you guys can see, we went up from, I think we were 13 inches before. I'm going off memory here, but whatever I said earlier in the video, we're up to 14 inches in the front, and we're about 13 and a half in the rear. I'm gonna measure that once we get onto solid ground, but for sure the shocks were low, and with these new caps, we can verify that they're at 185 PSI in nitrogen now. And you can tell just by looking at it, it's 100% gone up. The car is higher. I'm sure we're gonna get a better ride, sorry. Caps went on good, and I think we rectified a little bit of our spring sag problem, so. Not bad, not bad. All right, so guys, we just got back from a testing weekend with the KRX and the suspension put back together. This thing works really, really good now. So pumping up those shocks really did a lot for us in terms of ride quality. So I think we did about 50 or 60 kilometers the one day, mostly back roads. I'll throw up a few quick photos that we took here, but we went out for a good night ride. We went out during the day. I had my buddy with me, so my buddy Miro came along. So we had 2 people in the machine. Really, really good handling now. One thing that's really improved is the body roll. So I would assume before we had the shocks pumped up, we were starting to get a lot more turning and rolling and pitching in the corners. That's gone now. That's completely alleviated. So much better ride quality in terms of the body roll. Obviously the ground clearance, we did get some ground clearance back, so I'm back up. So settled out, I just took the measuring tape out and showed on the shocks, but on the front, I'm settled out at 14 inches, and in the rear, I'm sitting just a hair over 13.5. So I would assume in the rear, that did settle up lower than the 14.5 I was initially hoping from. So there might be a little bit of spring sag there. I'm not gonna completely write that off, that's possible. As you can see, the machine is fully covered in ice and snow though. Wheel wells are all filled up. The back of the body's got a bunch of ice in it. Actually, it's not too bad back there. So, you know what? That might not even be a factor. I think I'll take that back about the ice. I'll get it fully defrosted and maybe roll it around a few times, see if that suspension settles out anymore. But after after putting 50K on with the new caps and the shocks fully recharged, for sure, that was the major contributing factor to us having our springs sagging out. So, yeah, I'm 100% a believer now that's the issue with the KRXs, is that nitrogen is not always filled. So I'm not saying it's going to give you the lift that the tender springs do. I know guys that put tender springs on and go bang right up to 15 inches of travel. So I think that is still important. I think it's still good to do tender springs, especially if you load this thing up with a windshield and doors or aftermarket cages or any of that other stuff. Once you go to something like that, especially if you're going to go to 35s, I think doing the tender springs is still worth it. But if those nitrogen shocks are not charged properly, I don't think you're really helping yourself. As a matter of fact, I think you're taking away from what could be. So definitely a good upgrade, definitely worth the money spent. Like I said, I'm really happy with the ride now. I don't ever have plans to go to 35s. I would at most go to 33s. So I think it's a really, really good, worthwhile upgrade. It's also a little cheaper than doing tenders because it's something you can do yourself, and then to go and get those nitrogen shocks charged up is not that expensive. So one other thing that's worth noting is I was at between 180 and 185 PSI in all 4 corners, where I could have gone to 200 PSI. So at 200 PSI, I dare say that would even give us another ½ inch of ground clearance as well. But you're gonna get a harsher ride, right? So one thing that I did, and I didn't show this in the other video, and I should have, but I'll show you guys real quick here. My clickers, they're up underneath here. The KRX 1000 has these quick clicker adjustments, 24 adjustments that change the way the oil moves through the shock, and thus adjusts your compression settings a little bit for either a harder or a softer ride. So this ride is firmed up to back where I was when I was stock. Before I went out, after I had refilled the shocks, I adjusted all my clickers back down. Now I had been steadily increasing those over the last 9 or 10 months to compensate for my nitrogen shocks. So I counted it, I was at 9 clicks in the front and I was at 12 clicks in the rear. So that's how much I was compensating for that lost nitrogen pressure. Before I went out for my last ride with my buddy Miro, I actually turned all the shocks down to the 4-click adjustment, front and rear. So 4 clicks front and rear, and the bike feels better. Like, it's nice and stiff. It's a nice, good ride. Stiff isn't the right word, sorry. It's a comfortable ride. It's more manageable. I get less pitching and rolling in the corners. So the fact that I was able to turn all those clickers down tells me that there must have been a major issue. The fact that I am able to go down to that and still love the ride and it's not banging me through my seat. I bet you if I had left it at the 9 and 12 position, I would have been flopping around everywhere. So that's a really, really good indicator to me that what we did had a substantial result on the new ride. So take it for what it's worth. If you guys are still watching, thank you for watching. I appreciate you guys following along in the video and listening to what I've got to say about the nitrogen shock charge. I think this is a really good option. I don't think you need to run out and put new springs on, and I don't think that the tenders are 100% responsible for people saying their machine sags over time. I think it's a combination of bad nitrogen pressure and then all the accessories you add to the bike, which pulls it back down. So, and I gotta stop saying bike because I know everybody was so upset about me in the last video review that I did. I'm sorry, it's not a bike. It's either a car, a side-by-side, a UTV. I will work on that. But until next time, you guys, I'm out of here. I appreciate you guys watching. If you have any input, I'd love to hear it in the comments below. Let me know your thoughts. Let me know if you think I'm crazy. Let me know if you think it's just placebo effect. Please let me know your thoughts and let's spark the discussion. But I do not think that aftermarket tenders are needed right away. I think you should check your nitrogen pressure first before you run out and spend all that money. Anyways, you guys, I'm gonna go ahead, I'm gonna get the KRX defrosted, pop on my heater, get all this ice out of here, and then we're gonna be ready to hit the trails the next time we go out. I apologize I didn't get any footage this past weekend, but we will bring you another video of a good trail day very, very soon. Until next time, you guys, stay tuned. Country Slicker out of here.